Hello, welcome to Digital Publishing Online, and this is Lisa Gabrielle. And in the last video, I reviewed with you the template information that's displayed on your screen here. And in this video, we're going to go ahead and get started on creating the first page of our type variations book. Okay, so let's jump into InDesign. So right now I'm inside InDesign and I don't have a document open. All I have is just my bare application open. Okay. And when you have InDesign open and you don't have any other documents open, you can set parameters that will apply to the document you're about to create. So what I'm going to do before I get started on creating a brand new page in here is check a couple parameters to make sure I have the settings set right. So under the InDesign name there, you want to pull down to units and increments and make sure that this is set for inches and inches. It may be set to picas on your screen. We set this in another video, but I just want to make sure that you have it set to inches here. Okay, so double check that. That's under InDesign Preferences, Units and Increments, and then set your rulers to inches. Okay, so now when we come up and we create a new document, so File, go up to File, pull down to New and go New Document, you will have inches displayed in here. Okay? All right, so that's the first thing. The second thing you're going to want to do in this document setup here is you're going to want to turn off facing pages. And the reason for that is for this particular book, we will not be designing pages that are set up in a two-page spread. We will be designing single pages only. So go ahead and turn that off. And over here under page size, we're going to set up our document based on a landscape format. Going back to this example, I explained that the book pages were going to need to be 11 in the horizontal direction. So going back to InDesign here, we want to flip the orientation from portrait to landscape, and notice that it will put the 11 in the width direction. Okay. Under columns, you're going to leave that alone because we're going to set the number of columns and we're going to set these parameters elsewhere in the application. Now, margins. I've given you some criteria on your template handout back here, and I'm going to refer to that. Back here, I tell you what your margins around the page should be. So over here, we're going to adjust the margins in this area. So we're going to give ourselves 1.25 on the top and bottom, 1.5 on the left, and 0.5 on the right. Okay, so I'm going to go back to InDesign, and I can kind of see this back here, and I'm going to go ahead and put. Now, before I do this, make sure that this little lock is turned off, because if it's set in the lock position, it's going to make a consistent margin all the way around, but you want varied margins. You want all of your margins to be different sizes, so you want to be able to input that. So you have to turn this little lock thing off over here. Okay, so I'm going to go 1.25 from the top, and also I'm just going to copy and paste that because top and bottom we want both. Sorry about that. Knocked my headphones off my head. We want the 1.25. Off the left, we want 1.5. Okay. And then from the right, we want 0.5. So there you go. You've got 1.25 from the top and bottom, and then 1.5 or 1.5 off the left, and 0.5 from the right. Okay. Now, in terms of bleed, we will not be using bleed on this project, and we will be talking about bleed later on in the class, but not during the course of this project. Now, if you want to see what this looks like so far, you can hit the preview button here, and it will make your page in the background there. You can kind of see how I have the page sort of getting it started here. You can see it. And I think everything is set. And I'm not going to tell it how many pages I want yet. I'm just going to create one page at this time. So I'm going to go ahead and say OK. So once you say OK, you're going to end up with this. And that is one step in creating this template. You can kind of see we've determined now the margins. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do here is we're going to get ourselves over into the master page area, because right now we just created a brand new page, but looking down here where it says, and this is really small in the lower left hand corner here, my cursor's kind of circling it here, it tells you you're on page 1 right here. What we're going to do is pull this up and we're going to go to the A master. Okay, and that's going to bring us up here. Now, the other way that you can do that is by double clicking. Like you could double click this page. Notice over here it takes us to page 1. You can also come up here in the master section and double click the A master and it will take you up there. So that's 2 ways to get back and forth from the live page area to the master area. Okay. All right, so it's important that you're on the master area when you're getting ready to do what we're about to do, because what we're doing is we're kind of creating a template that's going to be used for all the pages, but we want to do it in the master page area. Okay. So now that we're there, the next thing we're going to do here is we're going to create a box. And going back to the handout here, what we're going to be doing is we're going to create this 6 by 6 inch box right here. Okay. So we're going to use a rectangle tool to do that. So click on the rectangle tool and we're going to set some parameters at the top. So whenever we're clicked on a tool here, we get the control panel at the top and we're going to set some parameters. We're going to pull down where it says 1 point. We're going to pull down to 0.05. What this is determining the thickness of the border around the rectangle that we're about to draw. And this is going to determine what type of border it's going to have. In this case, we're just going to have a solid black line border. Okay, so select that. Now, you want to make sure that where it says fill and stroke, that you have a slash through the fill, because we do not need a fill for this ranked rectangle. Okay, but we will need a black color. If you pull this down, you should be set to black here. We will need to assign black to the stroke or the border of the rectangle that we're about to draw. Okay. All right. So all we've done so far is clicked on the rectangle tool and set some parameters for that rectangle. Okay. We haven't done anything yet. Now you've got this cursor that if you click on your page, just click once on your page, it'll bring up this field for you to actually input the size of the rectangle that you want. We're going to go ahead and put 6 by 6 in here. Okay. All right, say OK. And it should draw for you a rectangle on your page. All right. Now the next tool you're going to need to use here is the selection tool. So we're going to grab the selection tool. Again, sometimes it's easy to have your toolbar next to where you're working. Okay, so grab the selection tool and you're going to need to click on the edge, because you can't click in the middle, because if you click in the middle you won't select the rectangle because it's not filled with any color at this time. So you have to select an area that actually has a property assigned to it. And right now your border has a black stroke, so you have to select the border and it will select the rectangle, and then you can move that rectangle into place. Okay, and it's to sit right there. So you're going to snap that rectangle to the upper margin corner, the upper left-hand corner of your page. Okay. All right, so far, going back to our template here, we've got our page started, we've got our margins assigned, and now we've drawn our first rectangle. Okay, Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to build this 5 by 5 unit grid. Okay. Now I don't want these videos to get very long, so I'm going to end this and start building the grid in the next video.